Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Meettina here. How's everyone's doing? So today we are going to be, I'm bringing back my Cosmic Ray or Dr. Raymond back here. As I mentioned that I'm going to bring him back and talk about each book. And today is going to be about time traveling, alternate realities, different universe, multiverse, and paranormal stuff. All right, so let's welcome Ray. Hey, how you doing, Ray? How are you?
Fine, Tina. Pleasure to be here again with you.
Great, great to have you here. So you are going to be talking about your book number 5, the Lady Lambada. Is that what it is? Columba. Columba. I got the name wrong. So anyway, so that's a good one. So in this book, it contains things about time traveling. This is the actual experience. Time traveling, alternate realities and ghosts and different paranormal stuff. So let's start off with that. People would love to hear about that time traveling.
Okay. Well, just as a background for those who didn't see the previous episode, Annabelle Krebs was born in 1902 in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. She survived the great pandemic of the Spanish flu back in 1918 through 1921. She went on to become a world famous artist and traveled throughout Europe, traveled to India and parts of Asia, and became very interested in metaphysical phenomena as a theosophist and so forth. And later on, she became a secretary to one of the world famous contactees in Southern California, Truman Bethurum. And she lived at Joshua Tree, not very far from the Landers Field, where the giant rock interplanetary spacecraft conventions were held in the 1950s up to about 1976, I think was the last one, when the sponsor, George Van Tassel, died. So she became a contactee herself and traveled with the Venusians and other extraterrestrials in space on many adventures between the years 1957 and 1961. So I have all of her artwork and her notes and everything. And that is the basis for Lady Columba, Venus Revelations.
That's the book number 5 that you have written. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to go to the slide presentation now to where we left off at the last time.
So remember, guys, last time I have interviewed him a couple times already, and the second one was the one that he talked about Lady Columba partially. So this is the continuation. So if you haven't listened to that video, please do, because it's quite fascinating as well, with a lot of stuff that he has shown on the images of his book.
Okay, so on the last time, let's see, we went through, let's see, we went through.
Yeah, you were showing a lot of fascinating images, and one of them that I still remember was the image of the space aircraft that looking up from an above angle, and you can see like the Earth down below the space aircraft. And so when you look at it from above, you can see the space aircraft, but on top of it, above the the flying space aircraft, it's a whole new, a different world, different city, a different world, which is fascinating to see from that angle. Yeah.
Yes, this is it. This is Annabelle Krebs' drawing of an interplanetary, intergalactic space meeting. It's on board a space platform called the Leviathan, which was launched off from the base Clarion on the far side of the moon and positioned between the orbit of the Earth and the moon. And you see Annabelle is, well, you see Vorton leading the conference in the center. And then as you see the third from his, or the 1, 2, 3 on the picture, the third from the
His
third
left,
right,
right?
it's
Yeah, his left
Annabelle.
side, left hand. Uh-huh.
Was raising her hand there.
Right.
That's Annabelle, and that's her Russian friend, the cosmonaut,
Oh,
and Alexander. And then to the on the left side, you see a hybrid bee, human like bee,
yeah.
a blue avian, and then you see Commander Aura Rains, the commander of the moon base Clarion,
Oh,
the one wearing the beret.
saw that. Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, there's a squid-like being and a Ganesha being on the right, like an elephant
Yeah.
type hybrid creature, and then like a little type of a bear, like a Wookiee-like creature,
Okay.
like a hybrid of some sort.
Now, I noticed that like a helmet light, is that supposed to be aura field, or is it like a helmet that they're
Oh
wearing?
yes, that was a helmet to accommodate simulate the atmosphere of the very planets where these members were coming from.
Mm. Interesting. Okay.
So what we learned from Lady Columba is that there's an intergalactic confederation consisting of 601 planets from 51 solar systems.
Mm.
They were discussing the future of Earth and actions that they would need to take in an alternate timeline, an intervention in an alternate timeline. And they wanted to avert a catastrophe on Earth, much like long ago there was a planet called Maldek that existed between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, where the asteroid belt is today. And there were two great superpowers on Maldek, and they fought one another, but in the process, they unleashed powers beyond imagination, but powers of destruction, and they destroyed their world.
Wow.
Long ago. And of course, many of the souls that existed on that planet have reincarnated on the Earth, and the extraterrestrials in the Confederation are worried that at some future time, we might do this to ourselves. So the Lady Columba book is interesting because it predicted, she predicted, quark energy and different kinds of misuses of atomic power that could be applied in the future. And so it's well worth reading. It's interesting that the book is in the prophecy and divination, like listed as number 86 of all the books in the world written on that subject on Amazon.
So she has predicted the probability of Earth could be destroyed. Is that what it is?
Yes. But what happens is they go to explore an alternate Earth where there is some destruction, but not the total destruction of the Earth. And they go as members of the Confederation to help to help the Earth in the year 2063 to save themselves and rebuild society. So the book is all about how they restructured the society to pattern after life on the other planets in the Confederation.
In 2063, you said.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting book because it also explores the positive role that women play in space exploration.
Wow.
Where women are leaders just as much as men in exploring outer space and colonizing, settling new worlds, and so forth. And I have to say that Annabelle was one of the few women contactees. There were 3 or 4 really notable ones, and she was one of them, but none of them, Gloria Lee, Miss Thompson, Annabelle, none of them, or Dana Howard, none of them gained the notoriety that any of the male contactees did. And so I felt that it was important to get their message out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I wrote this Lady Columba book.
So that makes me wonder, like, why women, are not being featured as important or as equal as men.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it has
Well,
been like that for centuries. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, not in all societies, but it's been primarily a male dominated, oriented world.
Exactly.
So it's good to know that on other planets, the tables are turned.
That's pretty cool. So what is this one here? Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. This is a picture that I selected that goes with a real nice quote.
Mm-hmm.
And this was from of one of the female cosmonauts. And if I can find that quote. But anyway, it represents the growing role that women will play in the exploration of outer space.
Mm.
Yeah.
She looks beautiful, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. And so, this is it. It's Anousheh Ansari, a space pioneer. And she said, I believe space travel is an absolute necessity for the survival of the human race.
Wow.
The whole human race. And you see that even in China, they have ticonauts that are women. They have,
Yep.
the Russians have female cosmonauts, Svetlana and some others.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have women that are exploring space. So that's a step in the right direction.
Well, there are more and more, women who are stepping up into a major position in the world nowadays too. Yeah. Wow, that looks fascinating. What are those?
Yes, these are a series of UFOs that were photographed moving at a high speed off the coast of North Carolina. And they were on the local television station down there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, there's a lot of them there.
Oh, yes. Well, Annabelle was explaining the different kinds of spacecraft that the Venusians use. They have the orbs. These are like personal vehicles. They have the scout craft that they're 50 feet in diameter, and they have the condensing spheres on the bottom, the 3 condensing spheres. Then you have the Saturn class patrol craft, which are about 100 feet in diameter, or 99 point something feet in diameter. like the one
Wow.
that crashed at Aztec, New Mexico. That's a patrol craft for reconnaissance, planetary reconnaissance.
So do you know where this spacecraft come from? From what star system or what, planets that come from?
Most of the UFOs that are seen on Earth come from are either deployed from the backside of the moon, or they come from Venus or Mars.
Huh. Okay.
And they have the larger motherships that can carry up to a 24 of the scout craft, or 12 of the patrol craft. Then you have various space platforms, like the Ashtar is one of them, which is in the Mars sector. And then you have these little discs. They're very tiny. They're called registered discs, and they can go anywhere. They're very tiny, just inches across, and they can do reconnaissance and spying and so forth. Like a drone, kind of like a drone.
Wow.
So this is an author's impression of a sectional view of what a scout ship looks like. So you have the 3 condensing balls there on the bottom. You have the shaft for the polarized lines of magnetic force, and then it's distributed evenly throughout the throughout the ship. And these balls are like capacitors, condensers. They're like batteries, so they retain charge that's collected from the magnetic field of the Earth, or
Impressive.
whatever planet they happen to be operating in. And then you see a Venusian here at the controls.
Beautiful, quite impressive spaceship there.
Thank you. That was this was done by L. Sprague de Camp, who wrote a book about anti-gravity in the I think 1956 is where this came from, and he based this on George Adamski's descriptions of the Venusians in his second book, Inside the Flying Saucers.
Wow. Very nice. Beautiful picture.
Now, Annabelle was concerned about the space race, whether it was going to turn into and the atomic, the missile gap, and the conflict between Russia and the United States. And she was working with Alexander behind the scenes to try and see if something could be done to help improve the relations between the United States and the Soviet Union back in the days of the Cold War. Now, it's interesting that the Soviet Union was sending most of its space probes to Venus. And the US was sending most of its probes to Mars initially, but then they started sending probes to Venus as well. So
why is that?
Yeah, of all the space probes sent to Venus, 4 countries have sent them so far. Is United States, the European Union, Russia, and Japan. They've sent space probes to Venus, and more space probes have been sent to Venus than to Mars or even to the moon.
So why is that more have been sent over there to Venus? What have they discovered? Are you aware of that?
Oh, yes. In the book, The Vast Venus Conspiracy, and in my other books, particularly book number 2, I discuss the reasons for sending probes to Venus, that they know about life being in existence there. And
Mm.
also some of the latest research about the discoveries of certain molecules in the atmosphere of Venus that are conducive to life, higher forms of life and biosystems and so forth. And
Oh, wow.
it's not the dead, lifeless planet that they want us to think that it is.
Wow.
Otherwise, why would they be spending all that time and money on sending vehicles there if it was a dead world?
Exactly. If there's not something that's meaningful and worth it, that's a lot of money to spend to be going over there. Yeah, true, true. But they won't be telling us.
No, I don't think that the real disclosure is coming anytime.
Really, when do you think the real disclosure will come in with all this
Well,
information that we have?
um, it's been kind of a layered effect, but very small. It's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Back in 1949, after they concluded Project Sign,
Yeah.
which was the first UFO investigation by the Air Force,
Hmm.
government released a statement saying that they believed there was a technology behind flying saucers, but they weren't ready to admit that it was from another world. And then there was the Condon report, later in 1969, totally debunking UFOs,
Real. Yep, they do that.
urging everybody to keep away from the subject.
Hmm.
And, so that set back ufology for a long time. And then by the 25th of June of last year, they had the congressional hearings, and
I
they,
heard about that. Yeah.
yes, about the the Navy pilot sightings and the other military pilot sightings and encounters. And then they had stated that they believed that there was a definite technology behind the UFOs, but they weren't ready to say they were from outer space. So, I mean, this is the same kind of thing that they said in 1949. So surely in all that time, they've learned a lot more, but I just believe they just can't talk about it.
So I wonder why they can't talk about it, just hiding it from people, you know?
They don't think we're ready yet, but I think that part of Hollywood, the production of certain television series and movies
Hmm.
are helping to prepare the consciousness of the world to accept the existence of extraterrestrials.
Well, interesting you say that, because just yesterday no, actually a couple of days ago, I went to the movies and watched all the previews, and 5 movies in the previews, they're all, but not the spacecraft, but it's all related to Marvels, all these superheroes, 5 movies in a row. And I was like, wow, it's like all of them are in all that superhuman and type of movie, which I haven't seen that many before. But past year has been a lot. And you're right about that. The movie industry.
And I think even the superhero thing has a lot to do with it, because one of the goals of the Venusians is to help us develop the powers that are latent within us. So we actually have superhuman powers and abilities that are locked within us that we can open up if we could learn to access them, to tap that kind of cosmic energy that flows through all of us. We
Right.
could be super beings ourselves.
Has she mentioned what kind of superpower that will be, coming up or opening up amongst humans?
Oh,
in the
yes,
beginning?
they've demonstrated bilocation, cloak of invisibility, extrasensory perception, telepathy,
Mhm.
telekinesis, numerous powers, psychometry, um, peering beyond the veil into the world of spirits. I had a friend, the late Andy Reese, who was the uh, psychic editor for the Weekly World News. We wrote a book together, my first book. It hasn't been published, but we did a lot of research together. Some of it appears in book number 2 and book number 3 about a time traveling astronaut from Germany. But
Wow.
he said that I went to his home in Glendale, California, back in the 1980s, and he showed me a psychic telephone that he developed, where he could call, he could pick that up and call and talk to people on the other side of the veil.
Wow.
He said he talked to Elvis.
No way. I would love so how come it hasn't come out? How come it hasn't come out and being used or open to public right now?
Well, I have his material, and so I'm gradually putting it in, into my books as we go on.
Good,
And
good.
so, yeah, we could talk about that on one of these programs.
Sounds good. All right.
I still have the book here with detailing all of his experiences. He got his information from one of the characters in the Lady Columba book, Vorton, Venusian Observation Ranger,
Mm,
commander of a Saturn patrol craft.
wow.
So this is a scene from that movie called When Worlds Collide from 1951.
Mm,
It's about the end of the world, when there were 2 planets that were passing close by the Earth, and one of them was going to, by the time the second planet came, it was going to destroy the Earth. And so they only had a certain amount of time to build spaceships to take people away on a space arc. And so it began that only the rich and the billionaires could get on it.
Never fail.
Uh,
Never fail. Mhm.
but it's just interesting that nowadays, do these millionaires and billionaires, do they know something that we don't? Because they're in a big hurry to get to Mars
Hmm.
in
You're
their
right about
lifetime. And why is that? Do they know something that we don't know about an impending disaster that's awaiting the Earth?
Well, I never thought about that, but you're right, like Elon Musk spent billions and billions, and even China and other countries as well wanting to go
And the
to
guy
Mars.
from Virgin Airways,
What's his name?
they're in a big hurry to develop private space programs.
Yeah, that's right. I never thought about that. That was a good question, Ray.
So back in the 1950s, Annabelle Krebs addressed that issue, and she was saying that space shouldn't be the purview of just the rich. It should be for the benefit of all humankind. And she looked at the destruction that was coming to a parallel Earth
Wow.
future in the year 2063.
Well, it's funny you say that year because just last week I happened to come across this channel. I don't remember which one, just by accident. And this lady went through near-death experience, and she was told of China would attack United States and other country in starting the year 2060. So when
Uh-huh.
you mentioned 2063, it just kind of brought back that memory of that video. So I have to look at that video. I have to search for that video again. But
Oh,
she
yeah.
mentioned specific years and everything in specific. So that was kind of interesting that you brought this up. Yeah, about the
Wow.
year, because I have no idea. Yeah.
So I do believe that people have sometimes have clear audio or clear visual perception of
Right.
future events. That there are prophets and seers among us, and some people have that power and they don't even realize it. A lot of people had been troubled by dreams,
Yeah.
days or sometimes weeks before big events occurred, like 9/11 or the assassination of President Kennedy. I mean, how did they know these things?
Right.
And there was even one of the X-Files about I think it was the one about the cigarette man.
Mm. I didn't see that episode.
Yeah, that would prophesied that prophesied the Twin Towers.
Wow.
And
That's
that was like back in 1990.
yeah, that was a long time ago in the 90s. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I didn't watch that many episodes, but I remember it was so popular in the 90s. That was way back. Wow.
Oh yes.
It's fascinating. We all have that power now to think about that, Ray. We all, I mean, you'll probably notice that some more and more psychics are coming out now, really good ones, and they can see the future. And you're right about that. I think all of us do have that gift. We just haven't been honing it properly.
Right.
Hmm.
Honing it and fine-tuning it.
Exactly. Wow, fascinating. So let's go to the next one.
Okay. So when the extraterrestrials have colonized all of the planets. All planets in our solar system are populated, and all moons are populated. If not by indigenous life, then by intelligent beings from other planets. For example, the Venusians themselves originated from a planet called Norca in the Tau Ceti star system. And their planet was turning into a vast desert millions of years ago, and they decided to leave and to come to our solar system. But they knew that life was emerging on Earth, so they didn't want to interfere with it. And so they settled on Venus and Mars and some other outposts in our solar system.
And what is that image, that guy kneeling down, and what is she shooting at? What's that supposed to represent?
This is just to say that the Venusians will be willing to defend their planet and their realm against any kind of invaders, whatever steps are necessary. Because as you know, we're on the verge of journeying to other planets. Although we haven't been back to the moon since the mid 1970s, but they want us to know that we can go into space, but only where they're going to let us go. Because as long as we take our aggressions, and we have nuclear energy, atomic energy, and we have rockets as delivery systems, they're going to defend themselves to whatever degree necessary when we go out there.
Has she ever mentioned when human will start to have a space exploration, space traveling? Because I mean, I know they're working on it in many countries, but it just doesn't seem to be that close to me in our lifetime.
Oh, yes. Well, one of the problems is the type of systems that we've developed. Back in the 1950s, where we were working on anti-gravity and so forth. As long as we're just using rockets and not anti-gravity propulsion. That rockets are just glorified Roman candles. You know,
I
and
like that.
they're not very economical, practical, or efficient
Right. Mhm.
like anti-gravity systems for a huge push into outer space.
Mm.
As soon as we develop these other systems, anti-gravitational, uh, we would essentially be on a par with our celestial neighbors, and then they would be very worried that it might be, result in an interplanetary war. So right now, I mean, they're watching us closely.
Okay.
I don't know if we really have developed the 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 G systems, the gravity systems that they were working on in the 50s. I think we do have a secret space program
Mhm.
because all the indications are there from the Gravity Research Foundation in the late 40s up through the US corporate involvement and the government's involvement in recruiting scientists from around the world to develop anti-gravity. That's all in my book number 7,
Okay.
Flying Saucers from Venus, they come, that we already discussed that book before.
Partially, yeah. And guys,
Mhm.
I have all his books listed, links listed underneath description. If you wanted to get any of his books, just click the link there. Simple as that. All right. So
So
now let's.
one of the things that Annabelle was one of the things that Annabelle was worried about was the race by the Russians and the Americans in the late 1950s, 1958, 1959, to detonate atomic bombs on the surface of the moon. And this caused great concern because on the backside of the moon were many structures, domes, cities, and so forth, um, that were operated by the Intergalactic Confederation.
Mm.
Um,
So
so
that's like a different, it's a civilization there then. That's what you're
yes,
saying.
a whole lunar civilization has developed there. It's
Mhm.
centered on a moon-based clarion. It's called Clarion.
Wow.
And so Annabelle wrote all about that and everything, and the efforts that they had undertaken to end the Soviet and American race to uh, explore the moon and to detonate an atomic bomb there. So
So so back then in the 50s, 60s, they seem to be going to the moon quite a bit or a lot focus on the moon, but now they seem to be going to the Mars. Why is it Mars now instead of moon? So this is interesting. It just kind of, piqued my
well,
interest. Why?
yeah, what they wanted to do was to force the plans to detonate the bombs on the moon uh, by Russia and America, into the trash can of history. So
Ah,
that's what's represented there. But this is from the Soviet Union.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
This was from the late 1950s, and it was showing how the Soviets planned to develop their own bases on the moon.
So this is the moon. This is on the moon.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This is actually from a Soviet publication. And
Wow.
after they had decided, and the Americans had decided simultaneously to stop any plans at dropping bombs on the moon, then they were in a race to get to the moon and to set up colonies and bases there So Lady Columba was uh, writing about this and a future for humankind with bases on the moon, but in areas that would be selected on the side of the moon that we can see and away from the extraterrestrial activity on the far side of the moon.
Wow, this is fascinating here. So
So
now, go ahead.
yes, this actually comes from the Russian animator and filmmaker Pavel Kulshantev's Stantisin Luna, a animated documentary that provided citizens of the Soviet Union with a futuristic vision of a bustling construction site on the moon's surface. And here's a very interesting quote from Moscow Radio on the 21st of August, 1966, when we were still in a race with Russia to send men to the moon. It is quite clear that these mad plans and insane aims of the nuclear maniacs with regard to space and the celestial bodies must alarm world opinion. All of mankind is interested in barring the road toward future transforming space into an arena of military rivalries. The USSR, which was the first to open the way into space, has always been careful to conduct research and the conquest of space for peaceful purposes for the good of mankind. The scientific, technical, and biological facts obtained as a result of the launching of spaceships and Earth satellites are mostly published in the Soviet press and have become aids to world science.
Wow.
So, when you look at the history of Russia, and UFOs, which I do a lot in book number, and Venus as well, the research done by the Soviet Union, they haven't always been as forthcoming either as the United States. It seems when they get hold of certain technical information that they just hold on to it for themselves.
Wow. That's fascinating.
This is Gloria Lee. She was very famous in the 1950s as she was a stewardess, and also she was a civilian pilot. She worked as a hostess at the Los Angeles International Airport.
Wow.
But she had many experiences with other beings from the solar system, and she had learned that she herself was a Venusian. And
Was she a contactee?
yes, she was, but she didn't. Unfortunately, she didn't receive a lot of attention either. And the information, there's a lot of information about her in my Venus books, and she met Lady Columba met her in space on the moon base. She actually met Gloria Lee.
Wow. So Ray, tell us about the time traveling that you mentioned earlier. Can we do time traveling if we're not contactees like Annabella and this lady, or those people who have been contacted before, like ordinary people like us? How can we time travel if we can do it?
Well, sometimes there are portals, or there are doors that just open in areas of magnetic anomalies. There have been many cases on the earth where people have accidentally slipped through time, like in the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Although China, the United States, the UK, and other countries are working on time travel. And of course, we have back in 1945 with the USS Eldridge and the Philadelphia experiment, we've come close to time travel, to accomplishing time travel safely. Even back in Germany, there was certain experiments in time travel with something called the Bell die Glocke, where they tried to develop a time machine. So without the technology, it's possible if you're in an area where you inadvertently pass through some kind of magnetic anomaly. One area where a lot of people just disappear off the face of the earth and are believed to have traveled into time, or possibly to other dimensional realities, is Mount Shasta. A lot of
Oh,
people,
okay. That's where you were. Have you experienced that yourself before?
well, I've experienced interdimensional phenomena on top of Mount Shasta.
Wow.
But in my case, I was up there with 7 other people. And we met a lady just materialized at the top of the mountain wearing a gold-laced white jumpsuit. She just
Wow.
materialized in the middle of us and explained that we were standing in the middle of a bilocation signal connecting our planet to another planet called Balaton in the Sirius star sector.
Wow. So you actually physically experienced seeing this being
Yes.
manifest in front of you.
Yeah, we
Whoa.
all did.
All of you saw. My God.
So
Next time you're there, next time you're gonna be there, you'll let me know. Would like to follow you and have that experience as well. Amazing.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great. That would be great. She said the planet was about 3 times the size of the Earth.
Oh, wow.
It
That's
was mostly
fascinating.
fresh. Oh, yeah, and it was mostly fresh water, not salt
Wow.
water, like our world. It was very mountainous, like Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Wow.
the indigenous species were a large type of mantis, like a mantid being.
That's fascinating. I'm gonna move my camera out a little bit. It's interesting, you know. Every time I have an interview with you, I seem to have all this sun glare into my face, which is interesting.
Oh,
that
wow.
it never happened in other videos, but in this video, I have this glare into my face, which is interesting.
Yeah,
The
and that
second time,
one, just a
right?
couple seconds ago, your whole face was covered in a giant white light. You look like
I
a
know
ghost.
this is only on your interview, which is interesting. And so I'm gonna move my camera here so it's not glaring into my eyes, and the audience will see my face kind of weird. White bright light on my face. Yes.
Well, the light shineth in the darkness.
There you go. I like that. So, wow, those are fascinating pictures. And those are on your book, Lady Columba, correct?
Yes. And there's some more, and I guess we can discuss them
The next talk.
in the next one, because I would really like people to be able to read this book. And if they don't want to, if they're not too much into reading, they can also obtain through Amazon. They can get an Audible book.
Audio, yeah, audio book. Correct.
And of Lady Columba. It's narrated by Terry Springs of the CBS television affiliate in Los Angeles, or in Las Vegas.
Wow.
It's very, very well done. And even if It's not like the typical UFO book.
And why is that? You're gonna have to
It's
explain.
not a dry book just cataloging lights in the sky. It's an adventure and it's a romance. So by all means, and it's informative and it's entertaining.
Beautiful.
By all means, please check it out.
Yeah, please do check it out, guys. So, get this book. Again, I'm going to put the link, through this book number 4, Lady Columba. I always gonna say Lambada. That's a dance, I think. For some reason, I kept thinking of that word, Lady Columba. So grab this book and, Cosmic Ray just show you all the images and, the synopsis of this book. It's going to be about time traveling and different realities in different timelines that you can actually read about it. And it's a real experiential. It's not like from theory, correct? That's what you mentioned earlier.
Yes, it's experiential, not theoretical.
Exactly. So guys, Ray, thank you so much. We're coming at the end of the time here. We're going to do again. Remember, guys, I'm going to bring Ray back on a weekly basis just so that he can share about each one of his books, that you can actually get it from Amazon.com. You can get in, audio as well. If you don't like to read, that would be awesome.
Tina,
Anything
I wanted to
else?
share one thing, that this quote from Lady Columba.
Please do.
Paranormal activity of all kinds is on the rebound worldwide. The portals of the infinite are flung open.
Wow. Wow. That's actually awesome. It's open to you already. You have experienced it yourself, which is very blessed at Mount Shasta. One of this day, when you go there, when, at the UFO conference again, and you're there, I'm definitely going to get you to go up to the top of the mountain again. And I would love to experience this.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ray, for being here today and showing all these beautiful visual images from your book and also the story about it. And I'm sure a lot of people will be interested at this moment, as I am, Thank you so much, Ray. Until next video, how about that?
Thank you, dear Tina.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here listening. Grab his book number 4, Lady Columba, or any of these books. There are 7 of them right now, also in audios. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share. By then, thank you so much.